Now, before we get into the three worst reasons to get into a relationship, I want to let this be known. You always know what's best for yourself. It don't matter who I am, who the next person is, what kind of expert guru they may be. You always know what is best for yourself. Intuitively, internally, at the core of who you are, you know what is right for you. However, in more cases than not, we end up doing the exact opposite of what is in our best interest, which is why this type of content has to exist. It is not to say that you do not have the ability to think for yourself or to perceive life for yourself, but instead is a mere guide in some of those times where you may be acting against your own best interest due to past programming, conditioning, etc., etc., etc. So that being said, let's get into three worst reasons to get into a relationship. Now, this ain't a quote unquote negative type of message, right? It's not saying don't get into a relationship. You must never get into a relationship. If somebody wants to be in a relationship with you, cut them off. No relationships, red pill. What? No, this ain't that type of message. Instead, this is a cautionary tale. Instead, this is a social awareness, internal personal awareness, in order for you to move in a way that's going to be for your best good as well as everybody else's highest good. So, that being said, the three reasons or worst reasons not to get into a relationship, or the three worst reasons to get into a relationship. You catch my drift. So the first one is you feel lonely. Now, I'm surprised that it's not just, when we're at young ages, we want to find ourselves a relationship because we feel as if we're lonely. I've found, especially through consultations and speaking with those who are in their 50s plus, 60, 70-year olds that I've had consultations with, and figuring out that a majority of people step into relationship dynamics that are not truly simpatico, that are not resonant to them, relationships that they actually don't really want to be in. It's not like this burning desire where you have to be with this person. It's not a Nicholas Sparks type of romance. Instead, it's I just don't want to be lonely. I don't want to be by myself, or projecting to the future of what if I'm by myself at 50, at 60, at 70, at 80 years old. So getting into a relationship from a space of loneliness is the first kind of symptom of desperation. And anything we do from a sense of desperation is never going to serve us. It doesn't matter what it is, right? If you go into a business deal because you're desperate, if you take on a job because you're desperate for the money, you will almost take just about anything, right? If you're desperate for a meal, you might dig through a trash can. And so we really have to start being introspective about this one. Why is it that we're getting into a relationship? Are we doing it because we actually feel lonely? We don't want to, quote unquote, be alone. Now, the entire dichotomy or the gag about it is loneliness has very little, if anything, to do with a lack of relationships in your life, not just romantic as well as friendships, familiar relationships, etc. Loneliness is not about you being by yourself. That's called solitude when you are connected to yourself. And it's one of the greatest gifts that you can give to yourself. Instead, loneliness, true loneliness, the feeling of loneliness is a state of consciousness where you are separate from yourself. You have a disconnection from self. So if I have a group of people around me who love me, who adore me, who are cheering me on, yet I am not connected to myself, I will feel lonely, even in the midst of those people, even in the midst of a relationship where somebody is loving on me. I will forever feel lonely so long as I'm disconnected from myself. And I've created a multitude of videos just about, the truth about loneliness and how to actually, quote unquote, eradicate loneliness from your life, which is just realizing you are always connected to begin with, right? That's the thing about it. It's not that you are going within to find somebody or find something that, is not necessarily there. You're not cultivating as far as creating something. Instead, you're rediscovering an aspect of yourself or the core of who you are, which is connected to all of life. And once you remember that, you are connected to God, source, universal intelligence, as well as everything else around you. You can never be lonely, regardless if you have millions of people around you or if it's just you in the confines of your home, your room, whatever it may be. So that's number one. Number two is you're looking for love. Now, this one may seem obvious for us as far as, well, like, why wouldn't I not get in a relationship because I want love? Of course, that's what a relationship is about. Relationship is my means of getting to love. That is the vehicle that I use to be loved. This is the mentality that most of us were conditioned into. And it's a byproduct really of, a lot of the messages in media. So movies, television, music, etc. You complete me. You are my everything. I am nothing without you. These are the sorts of messages that we grew up on. And so we came to internalize those messages, starting to believe that we need to find ourselves within another. We saw these dynamics within our parental figures, maybe within our environment, our social environment, the people around us, and the ways in which they interacted and engaged, and how people use each other as a means to find love, as a means to be validated, as a means to be accepted, as a means to feel as if they were worthy, and so on and so forth. And so this one right here is one of the most destructive belief systems we can fall into. The belief that the love we are looking for, the love we so desire, is out there somewhere. That in order for us to truly find love, we must find it in another person. And in that process, we forget that love has always been within us. Again, it's the same thing, with loneliness. It's not that there is a lack of relationship. It's that you have forgotten your relationship with yourself. It's not that there is a lack of love where you must go find love or create love, but instead you must tune in and tap into love. It's a state of consciousness. At one moment you can feel absolutely loved. At the next moment you can feel like nobody loves you. How's that possible? Well, because it's internal. All of it is happening within ourselves. And dependent upon what we focus on, what we give our thought process, what do we give our conscious or our conscious awareness and our mindset to, right? What are we feeding ourselves on the day-to-day basis? What kind of ideas, what kind of concepts, what kind of belief systems? And we don't just do it in reading a book or, something that's inherently a belief. It's every time you're scrolling on whatever app of your choice and you're just feeding yourself all these ideas or internalizing the destructive belief systems that you already hold. We have to become conscious and aware of what it is we are mentally consuming, but that's a subject for a whole nother time. Back to the point being is when you're looking for love outside of yourself, you're looking for it in all the wrong places. And if you get into a relationship because you want love from people or you want love from a person, you just want to be loved, you will forever feel you are at a deficit. At some point in time, you will wake up, you will smell the roses and realize, damn, I feel hollow, I feel empty, I feel unloved, I feel unseen, unworthy, undeserving, whatever it is, because that belief system has not changed. You cannot change the internal with an external solution. You understand? You can't put a Band-Aid on a broken bone and expect it to go through a natural healing process. Or you can't put a Band-Aid on an open wound and expect that to do anything. You have to go through the proper process for that wound, right? Now, all healing happens from the inside out. And so you have to get out the way most of the time. Like for ourselves, we have to get out of our own way, get those limiting beliefs that we've stacked on top of one another and start to eradicate them from our lives. We have to shed them like a snake skin in order to get back to the essence of what we are. Now, number three worst reason to get into a relationship is time. I'm running out of time is easily one of the most destructive belief systems we can hold about anything within our lives. If you are doing something from a state of I am running out of time or feeling as if you do not have enough time, you will forever be in a desperation loop. You will forever be rushing. If you look at most of the world, they are living as if there is not enough time. And it's because of these messages we perpetuate. Life is short, right? Time is of the essence, right? You can never have enough time. We say these things and we've generalized these, not understanding, first of all, life is plenty long enough because life is what it is, right? If life was 3 years, then that's what it is. If life was 30 years, if life was 300 years, then that's what it is. But within that life we've been given, we maximize upon that life. We maximize upon that time by truly engaging in life in a fulfilling way. The reason why we oftentimes don't feel as if we have enough quote unquote time is because we're not doing the things that are actually the truest to ourselves. We're not doing the things that we feel connected to. We're not doing the things that we love the most. Instead, we're doing the things we feel we have to or need to do because we've been conditioned to believe so. We're doing quote unquote safe things or the thing that is not risky or the least risky. We're doing things that we believe are quote unquote realistic as opposed to engaging in life in the realist way. I could have easily been at that corporate job, still working on the digital marketing campaigns that I absolutely despised. I could care less about, but I pretended to care about continuously. Meanwhile, I really wanted to be here talking to y'all. Meanwhile, I really wanted to be at the coffee shop writing another one of these. My first published book, Doing Me Guilt Free. Meanwhile, I'd rather be creating music. I'd rather be working on the screenplays. I'd rather be doing something that fulfills me, that satisfies me, that is connected to my own true purpose in this life. And so when we're disconnected from that aspect, we always feel we don't have enough time. And when it comes to relationships specifically, we find ourselves in a space where, oh man, I've wasted time, quote unquote, right? I got myself into these relationship dynamics and I wasted 10 years, 20 years in this relationship, 5 years in 5 relationships that I feel were a waste of time. And so we have to rush, or we feel we have to rush. We believe we have to rush into a relationship right here, right now, not understanding that that is coming from a state of desperation. Anything that you feel you have to do is from desperation, not inspiration. But if you feel excitement, you feel eager, you can't help but fall into that dynamic. Me and my soulmate, it literally just morphed. It just happened so naturally, but both of us were not looking for it. Both of us were in a space where we're just so involved in being so in love with our own lives, which may sound like a rare thing because it is, right? A majority of people are not looking for that. They're looking for somebody to solve their internal problems. They're looking for somebody to help them to ignore themselves, in essence. But once you get yourself to a point where you're finally making the decision to go within and to make you enough, to remember that you're more than enough, the relationship that you actually desire is going to waltz into your life so naturally because you attract what you are, you attract what you resonate to, right? The law of vibration, the law of resonance says you attract into your life what you are, your equivalent. So if you are full of love, you attract more love. If you are full of desperation, you attract more situations to be desperate about. The desperation relationship, the desperation career, the desperation body, the desperation life, right? So this is really a decision that we have to make for ourselves. But again, these are just some indicators to show you that when you're coming from this place, you never win. There can be no win because you're coming from a place, again, of desperation. So let's get through this list one more time. Before that, quick plug of my first published book, Doing Me Guilt Free, Breaking Free from People Pleasing and Unleashing Your Personal Power. Make sure to get yourself a copy by clicking the link in the description below. Now, just a recap of the last 3 we went over. And again, these aren't the only 3. They could be 300 for all I care, but these 3 are foundational and fundamental. And I've also noticed that these are the ones that pop up the most, right? So number 1 is you feel lonely. Do not get into a relationship if you are lonely or feeling lonely. And that's the purpose. Even if it's a friendship, by the way, don't get a friend just because you feel lonely, because it's not going to solve it. And you're going to get yourself in situationships. You understand me? Number 2 is, well, you're looking for love and you're looking for it in all the wrong places, because so long as it's out there, it's in the wrong place. And number 3, you feel as if you are, quote unquote, running out of time. Now, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel. If this is on YouTube, if this is anywhere else in the world, make sure to tap in, stay tapped in. Not because, again, I am the answer to all things. Instead, I will redirect you to yourself. I'm going to put you on game. I'm going to put you on a lifetime worth of game. However, it's only for you to incorporate it in a way that makes the most sense for you. So always remember that the power is within. Till the next time. Namaste. Namaskar.